Paths Manager at Ramblers GB, and I'm very excited to talk to you today about how we use data to identify lost paths. Prepare for a quick walk back in time. In England and Wales, there are over 140,000 miles of footpaths, bridleways and byways which make up our public rights-of-way network. These, although not in perfect accessible condition, are available for everyone to enjoy all year round and are used daily by the general public for exercise, routine travel and to connect with nature. Some of these public rights-of-way have considerable historic significance and have been described as humankind's oldest inscriptions upon the landscape. From ancient castles and hill forts to fords and bridges over rivers, they bring to life the history of how our landscape and life today came about. Many paths and roads that we use today date back thousands of years. People have always had to travel to survive, moving from one place to another for trade, farming, work and pilgrimage. Pack horse trails were usually narrow, one horse wide, and connected towns and cities with rural communities, fishing villages, farms and mines. For centuries, there were major trade arteries and whole infrastructure networks built to service them, such as drove roads for taking large herds of cattle and sheep to market. At the turn of the century, with the advent of motor-propelled cars and buses using the routes previously served by horses and carriages, these routes eventually turned into the main roads we recognise today. Meanwhile, footpaths and bridleways remained. In the aftermath of World War II, with the rebuilding of cities and infrastructure, there were growing concerns around public rights-of-way being unrecorded. In 1949, the National Parks and Access to the Countryside Act resulted in county councils in England and Wales being given the duty to create and maintain the definitive map. This is the current legal record of public rights-of-way. Changes to the law introduced by the Countryside and Rights-of-Way Act 2000 meant that many historic routes used by public in England and Wales would be lost on the 1st of January 2026 if they hadn't been formally recorded, and that's lost forever. This triggered nationwide uproar and brainstorming began to find out how this monumental task could be undertaken with the new deadline in place. It is suspected that there are thousands of unrecorded footpaths. For each of these individual routes, a definitive map modification order would have to be created, which substantially proves the existence of historic public rights-of-way using historical evidence. Each application can involve months of research where evidence is pulled together into a quite complex and lengthy document. As an example of the types of evidence we use, in the 17th century, people took ownership of land that had previously been open fields and common land, which gave powers to divert existing paths and roads. The enclosure records often make reference to routes which held the rights of public access and therefore are powerful evidence if found. The only problem is, these records aren't quick to find or interpret. They come on 100-year-old scrolls that you need to read wearing gloves and with your best ye-olde English linguistic cap on. There are, however, many places to look for evidence sources: parish, estate and travelling maps, railway and canal records, land deeds, government and tax records, for example. So the problem was, we needed to find an evidence source that was easily accessed, quick to search, and most importantly, had been accurately digitised. This would then mean that anomalies in the map could be identified and the lost ways could be properly researched. We needed more people, more maps, more evidence, more data, a clever system and a great PR story to connect with people who have a passion to protect their history and fight for their rights. We needed data that was quick to access in digital format, that could be easily interpreted, data that could provide sufficient historic evidence if used in an application, data that with the appropriate licensing conditions could be shared with the public, and data that could be easily interpreted by the untrained end user. Thanks to the boom in GIS and public interest in online mapping in recent years, the Scottish Library had already commissioned the digitising of the 1897 Bartholomew half-inch maps and the 1888 Ordnance Survey 6-inch maps, both of which contribute to the evidence of the existence of a route and certainly narrow down the needle in the haystack for potential researchers. Current Ordnance Survey maps are updated using Highway Authority definitive map data, which meant that OS 1 to 25k layers could be used as the current perception of accurate maps. So, could these data layers be overlaid to easily highlight anomalies? In 2020, we launched a mass citizen geography project which sparked a growing movement across the country. We recruited volunteers and launched a PR campaign to search 154,000 1 kilometre squares using an online mapping tool to find lost paths. The mapping tool split the country into 1 kilometre squares and made it easy to compare current and historic maps side by side. Users simply selected a square, ran a quick spot the difference and marked on any missed paths, each square taking a matter of minutes to complete. After just 6 weeks, a total of 4,000 new volunteers searched a total of 154,000 squares, and those squares were all checked twice. Our top mapping volunteer actually completed 17,734 squares on their own. The outcome resulted in the finding of some 49,138 miles of potential lost ways. That's almost 50,000 miles, more than a third of our current network in England and Wales. As a result of using data to identify lost paths, not only did we achieve our aim of locating the potential paths at risk, but it sparked such great interest with the public that we now have more than 1,000 volunteers actively working on this. They are currently prioritising the paths that stand to deliver the most benefit to the public and sourcing evidence to submit the DMMOs required. We are training them to submit the strongest applications in the hope that it will result in their addition to the definitive map and ultimately for the protection of paths for public benefit, not only for the preservation of what is arguably our country's greatest historical asset, but for the significant health and well-being benefits that it provides when used. That you all well know. And that's how we use data to identify lost paths.